every fucking time I throw a party on a Saturday night, Sunday morning I have to get up and empty 2,600 fucking beers that I swear no one's even taken a fucking draw off of. You know that thing where you're just dumping beer and you're like, there are people in Africa who are... Rob Schneider hanging in with us very generously from Denver. He's doing his last show with Sandler tonight, which must be a fun way to do the road. Oh, yeah. Rob, here's something I wrote down a few weeks ago, and I just thought you would probably enjoy the analogy. And then we have the, let's do the plane crash news story first, just to satisfy that requirement, and then I'll do this.
The coroner is still trying to determine the cause of death and whether she was already dead when the truck hit her. We have new information now also on the plane crash. KTVU has just learned the names of the 4 pilots who were on board the flight. They are Captain Sum Ting Wong, Wee Tu Lo, Ho Lee Fook, and Bang Ding Ao. The NTSB has confirmed these are the names of the pilots on board Flight 214 when it crashed. We are working to determine exactly what.
Yeah, not a lot of vetting going on.
3 producers
in the news, huh?
3 producers fired after that.
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Holy Fook.
Holy Fook.
He might have been one of them.
So here's an analogy I thought you might like, because I know how much you hate Gavin Newsom. Of course, I hate Gavin Newsom. All the right thinking, I don't mean right side of the aisle, just normal thinking people in Los Angeles and in the world, California, the nation, they just hate Gavin Newsom because his policies are horrible. But I was thinking now he wants to run for president, and, he's denying it, but he's out there making the rounds. It looks like he's going to do it. And so I was sort of laughing that, he screwed up California. It may not be fixable, and now he's going to franchise this. So he basically took, we let him manage a small taco stand. He ruined the taco stand, and now he says, "I want to franchise. I want to open franchises and see if I can do that." And the analogy I was thinking about was in the let's see. In the movie with Gordon Gekko and Charlie Sheen, Wall Street, yeah. In Wall Street, Gordon Gekko gets hold of like young Charlie, and he goes, "All right, you want to work with me, you want to be in my organization, you want to make stuff happen, fine. Here's $100,000 to play around with. Let me see what you can do with this $100,000, And then Charlie takes the $100,000, or maybe it was $200,000, or maybe it was $50,000. I don't remember. But the point is the old boss man said, "Here's some cash. Yeah. Go invest it. Let's see how smart you are. Let's see what you can do with this. And if you can turn my $100,000 into $250,000, then I'll let you come into my company and you can work with more money this time." What would be the equivalent of that with Gavin Newsom? You know what I mean? Like, you took over a state that was a shining beacon on top of a hill, and you've ruined it. If you were Gordon Gekko, would you let him into the organization and give him more money? Because that's essentially the ask for Gavin Newsom.
If you hated the country, if you wanted to turn the country into poverty, where basically you and your friends would have a gated community with real guards, not just one Filipino guy, and guarding our little community. If you really needed that, and if you wanted to, then you would also let the borders open so that because you didn't have enough workers.
So you're saying if Gordon Gekko hated money, then he would hire Gavin Newsom to work in his organization.
If he hated his country and wanted it to go under for some other devious reason, or maybe he was going to make money and short his own company, then you do it.
All right, Chris, what do you got with the news, by the way?
So Jennifer Aniston is facing some backlash right now. And John Hamm is going to be on the morning show, that Apple TV show, and they have a romance, and there's some intimate scenes. And so Jennifer was talking about doing these scenes with John Hamm. She's like, I've known him for a long time, so they asked if we wanted an intimacy coordinator. Which actually some productions are requiring, right? It's mandatory to have the intimacy coordinator, especially after all the Me Too stuff, which is just like somebody who supervises, maybe choreographs everything, make sure not only the actors but everyone on the crew feels comfortable, safe.
That'd be a sweet gig for me.
Oh yeah.
Intimacy coordinator.
How would you go about
ready
it?
to go right now.
I'd
Grab her ass. Grab her ass.
I'd have to have
now the boob.
All right. Just like one of those CPR dummies, you'd need a big sex doll, right? Because you'd have to illustrate, like you're allowed to touch her with your hands, but you can't lick your finger first. Like things like that. This is a no-fly zone. I need to illustrate it on a sex doll. I think, number one. And then, I'd have to talk about techniques for not getting wood. Because that's a very real issue.
That's a skill.
If you're going to be on top of Jennifer Aniston, for an extended period of time, there's going to be wood in your future.
So what tips would you give
That is
John?
a real heterosexual test for men, for male actors.
Yeah. Well, for me, it'd be person to person. Like, I wouldn't, I'd say to John Hamm, like, what are some things you dislike? What upsets you? You know what I mean?
Woody Allen said baseball, I would think he did that whole routine about Willie McCovey's up to bat and Willie Mays is on first base. And he steals second, and then
baseball's a classic one,
right? But if you love baseball, you may get more wood from thinking about baseball.
Contract.
You know what I mean? So I would find, for me, I'd think about soccer. Even women's soccer would be a boner killer.
A tie in soccer
for me.
Well, isn't this day and age now with this such available pornography that I don't think you need to get into a scene that heavily. I think you start and you pan to the clothes on the floor. You come back, it's over. I mean, otherwise everybody knows it's fake. It's not really happening. So I don't understand why Hollywood still thinks there's.
Oh, they got to have, for insurance purposes. Right. They have to have everyone. I would. Probably
why they have sex at all? Why the fake sex? That's what I'm talking about.
I would probably recommend they rub one out before they hit the set. Take a little starch out of that sail. I would do it in a delicate way. But I would suggest that they fire a load off so that their gun doesn't go off in the bed.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I would like to see you in your refractory period. Also, though, you probably couldn't act if you're in your refractory period. Like, she'd be like, tell me the 10 things you love most about me, Adam. I don't know. Your ass is blocking Sports Center, sweetie. Can we just cut? No, you're really into her, Adam. Okay, she's okay. What do you want? I'm not Laurence Olivier over here. I'm a decent actor.
I was on the board when they decided this about having an intimacy, the Screen Actors Board, which was, I got to tell you, a gigantic waste of hours and hundreds of hours.
That's all it is. That's all.
It just, these people, the people on the board, you've never recognized most of the people. There's some good people on there. Like Elliot Gould is a great guy, and Isai Morales. But most of these people you've never heard of. They've never been in anything. They've just literally, it's their show business because they don't get invited to the Academy Awards or these board meetings. And they're such a bore. And before the strike, you should know this, but at that, they kicked me out because because I didn't live in the same city and I was the only guy kicked out for that reason. But what they were arguing about before, they weren't talking about what the strike was really about and what there was the holdups for. There was a 2-hour meeting. They were an hour late. And for 50 minutes of the 1-hour meeting that was supposed to be 2 hours, they talked about the strike lines and whether to have let's not have single purpose plastic bottles because that's wasteful.
Right.
Let's just and they said, should we get like a jug? And they said, what do you mean, like in the coal miner days where you had a jug of water? And so these are, a bunch of goofballs. But I do think I understand that the intimacy thing, because I think you have to. If it could be really uncomfortable, anything you could do to make it.
Sure.
I would need one. I don't want to have to be uncomfortable in that. I had to do a scene where I'm in bed with the girl, just kissing her a little bit on her neck, and I said, like, I don't want to get in this is And so I said I want 2 intimacy coaches.
Right. Yeah, Rob played a gigolo in 2 movies.
So she got into trouble for what reason?
Well, so she said, we don't need the intimacy coordinator because I'm, quote, from the olden days. So when someone asks if you're okay, I'm like, please, this is awkward enough. And a lot of people online are upset that she didn't want it, that she says that, when someone asks if you're okay, that's what the intimacy coordinator does. They like, what about the crew? What about everybody else feeling safe?
What's our relationship with Jennifer Aniston? I feel like we love her, but we're trying to bust her all the time. Like every 6 months, we're trying to bust her on something, but yet we love her. Like, what is it?
She's clickbait. That's all. You know, she's a wonderful person.
Yes,
and very lovely actress. And but the thing is, there's a fascination about her. So anytime anybody could get her picture or any story, it's just, you know, it's those guys. They have to do 100 stories to make enough to make a living in their mother's basement. So they got to do the whole thing. She was trying to go for a joke, obviously. It's tough being on those shows and promoting. You know, you've told all the stories already. You've been in the public eye for over 30 years. What do you got left? So we'll talk about an intimacy coach because at least that's new.
Right.
And it's a misfire. She's trying to go for a joke, I think.
But isn't there also kind of rumor about John Ham-Hog, I would call him?
I don't even know if that's a rumor.
There's definitely some pictures and stuff of him with a pretty big
some
hog.
gray sweats.
Yeah, maybe his last name isn't really Ham. Maybe in high school somebody just saw that hog and went, you know what, Schmeckenberg, we're calling you Ham now because I looked at your hog.
Well, that's a good call. Just give me that for 1 hour. That's all I ask.
Yeah.
Just give me 1 hour. Let me enjoy that for 1 hour just to have that on my body for an hour. That's all I ask.
All right, so nobody cares. Nobody cares. Clickbait.
But with all the Me Too stuff too, I mean, Matt Lauer. So it was reported that he attended a wedding, the same wedding as Savannah Guthrie.
Yeah.
6 years after he was fired from the Today Show, and it looks like they were hugging it out. They were friends, and everything's working out. So like a lot of people are wondering like what's going on here because Savannah was very upset about Matt. Remember all the accusations? He was fired because of the sexual allegations.
Yes.
And
it's tough when you see them at a party and you're drinking.
Yeah.
Right.
Come on. It was 6 years ago. You're a rapist.
Right.
All right. Come over. Let's hug it out.
Yeah. And what is Matt Lauer's one of the sort of poster childs for me of doesn't do anything. So when he gets cut, he's gone. I don't know what Matt Lauer's up to, but
we're not yearning for more Lauer.
No one wants to know what Lauer's take would be on, you know, this Ukraine situation or what's going on with Israel or the 3 college presidents. Like, no one needs to know what Matt... And is he just permanently out in the cornfield? Did he just make enough money and he's literally unemployable now and can't work? I mean, this is...
65. He has a new girlfriend.
And I don't even know, you know, he did get a little railroaded because one of the women that he was accused of harassing was essentially harassing him. I think like calling him and doing booty calls and stuff like that. When, you know, everyone always goes, look, it doesn't matter. Like, okay, call me old fashioned, but if you accuse me of like, I forced myself on a woman and she didn't want it, and I forced myself on her, and I had sexual relations with her, and she didn't want it. And then I defended myself and said, look, let me show you a bunch of text of her the following day and 2 years later hitting me up for booty calls and coming by my house and wanting to hang out. It's not neither here nor there. It makes a difference. And I know everyone goes, well, who cares? And now this. Sorry, if you live in the real world, that's going to factor in. And I think that was kind of his story.
Right. So
I think we're going back to Pepe Le Pew now.
That's right.
So he's up there with like Don Lemon is just
yeah. Don Lemon will never be heard of again. Tucker Carlson's you're going to hear from. They both got fired on the same week. Everyone wanted to know what Don Lemon was doing next, and everyone wanted to know what Tucker Carlson was doing next. And I said Tucker Carlson will be doing a lot of stuff, and Don Lemon will be doing nothing because he's stupid, and all he does is parrot talking points from CNN, and they don't need him anymore, and he doesn't have his own original thoughts. Right. So Don Lemon, you will never hear from again. He may host a game show on BET or something, but you won't hear another take from Don Lemon because Don Lemon doesn't have takes. He has CNN's takes. That's all. I know he has them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have all arrived in the exact same place for everything COVID. Somebody on CNN would have had another opinion on masking or ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine or shutting down schools. Someone would have had another idea, a dissenting idea. They didn't. So they don't have takes. He has CNN's take, and he got shit canned from CNN. So he's out of takes now. He left his takes with CNN. Don Lemon.
Brian Skelter.
Yeah, check with me. Yeah, Brian Stelter, I think. Yeah.
Stelter.
Check with me. It's almost been a year. He's got no takes. Check with me in 5 years and see if there's more takes from Brian or them. Now, they have CNN's takes.
Right.
Tucker Carlson gets accused of doing Fox talking points, but that's not who he is. He's gone, and he has 1,000 different takes. Agree or disagree, he has his own takes. Don Lemon, I don't know if Don Lemon's interested in his own takes. He wants to go to South Beach and have a daiquiri. Like he doesn't have the will to do it, is what I'm saying. Tucker Carlson would do it for free. He's going to get paid, but he would still do it for free. And there are many other personalities that would do it for free. Don Lemon is an actor who was paid to say what CNN thought.
Well, that's the idea, though. They didn't want anyone with the original thinking, or he wouldn't have gotten that job. That's why he would have never been in that position to begin with.
Well, and he's black and he's gay, and getting back to the diversity dance card that we can punch two punch holes in it now.
That
we got gay and black.
That makes him harder to fire. That's why he lasted so long.
Yes.
Right.
And I think he's kind of a 10-cent head, too.
So Aaron Rodgers has been reported now that he's expected to be cleared ahead of his Week 16 matchup, Christmas Eve game against DC. Remember, he tore his Achilles first game, and it's supposed to be a season-ending injury. What the hell is happening? And
first game, first play, I think.
Yeah, first series for sure. Yeah,
and
or play. Yeah.
And he says he's playing 7-on-7 now, and looks like he'll be able to clear. I mean, the Jets are I think they're 5-8. So I mean, is it even worth it? But
well, if they let him play 11-on-7, like if the Commanders agree to pull 4 DBs off the field, he's going to thrive.
Guys off, yeah, please.
But do some research just really quickly on 40-year-old athletes who've never been hurt before, getting traded, and then going to a new team and instantly getting injured.
Yeah,
it just is always a bad idea to get a guy at the height of his age and you to a new team. They get injured.
Yeah,
I mean, every time.
But here's the question: if he wants to play and you're the Jets coach, what do you say?
I think you let him.
You let him.
I think you have to. Yeah.
Okay.
Plus, you want to win out because it's like there are going to be people. There's going to be a lot of firings.
You know what? I'll tell you what I would do. I would say, Aaron, I'll let you play, but I'm going to run you out of punt formation. I'm going to have the long snapper who does the punts. I'm going to have you 14 yards back, and you just catch it, and you can throw it down. You got enough arm to cover it. I don't want you dodging, blitzing cornerbacks and edge rushers and shit like that. We'll run you out of punt formation. And by the way, if you can punt on 4th down, go have at it. But we'll run you deep out of punt formation.
Yeah, and that's interesting. You know the guy you never hear about anymore, the Bob Costas. They ran him out of football.
They did.
Just because it was when he just stayed on the truth of the people getting hurt and having the brain injuries, and I think he did it one too many times, and they said you're out forever.
Wow.
You're not coming back, and that's it. And you forget, because I remember I was at some function, a fundraiser in New York, and Phil Simms was there. And you got one question you could ask somebody. I tried to get one piece of information, and to Phil, I said, "No, if you could just play when you're not hurt,
right?
What would that NFL schedule be like?" And he said, "Well, you play the first game of preseason, you come back week 4, the regular season,
wow,
and then maybe one game before the playoffs, That's it. These guys are just like, I remember like Jerome Bettis. There was an article in the USA Today where this running back for big, powerful running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. After a game, he said it's like getting it when he carries the ball 33 times. It's like getting in 33 car crashes.
Yeah.
What he does after that is the Monday after, he has to crawl to get to the hot tub in his house, soak for 2 hours, get to the stationary bike, just start his legs moving around. The next day, just a slow jog, and then build it back. So it's an incredible. That's why I do think that it has not got enough play, that the running backs do need to have a separate union within football.
Oh, interesting.
If you look at the injuries, if you take a look at what their bodies, what they go through, and I do think there needs to be a compensation. Running back, different compensation than any of the other players. Because it's not like a lineman. Linemen get hurt too, but the lineman, you have like a 40-year-old lineman who's still playing in the NFL. But the running backs just get pummeled and sat on and punched, and the helmet hits are just they forget about those. He's a running back. So I do think that there is something to that.
Not to crap on your point, but with Jerome Bettis getting in 33 car crashes a game, he is known as the bus. So that's you would have less damage in a bus if you were hit by a car. I don't know if that's just his nickname or I don't follow it closely enough, but I do know they call him the bus.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you think Aaron Rodgers plays? Straight forward.
Yes.
You think he plays?
Yeah, I think he does, because I think he has more juice than the coach does.
Yeah.
And he's going to want to do it.
Yeah, selfishly.
Yeah. It's about ratings and money.
So it's now reported that 12-year Seattle radio host Danny Bonaduce,
the Dooch,
he's retiring.
Oh,
yeah, he just announced it. He just tweeted it. So, obviously, child actor as well.
I know.
You've had your show with him, and he's been a co-host on your radio show. But he has announced his retirement. I mean, he's had some health issues in 2022.
Yeah, I've been watching The Partridge Family pretty religiously, and I did.
Why? Why?
It's a part of my youth, and I try to look at things through the lens of my adult life now versus the lens of my youth, And if you watch the exact same product, but the product you first saw when you were 8 years old in a completely different, environment, and then you now watch the product now in a 100% different environment, which I'm in, you then have to process the product, and you get to toggle back and forth between you being 8 years old and watching it and the thoughts that you had.
You're right.
For instance, did that. You did?
Yeah, I did it with Home Alone.
Oh,
I watched it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Loved it. Watched it again. I'm like, this family is so rich. They're taking 15 kids and adults to Paris. They live in a mansion. By the way, Rob, loved you in Home Alone too.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, the first thing you have for me with the Partridge Family is they lived in a huge house because there was an upstairs. I didn't know anybody who had a house that had an upstairs. I knew people who lived in the upstairs unit of an apartment, but those were outdoor stairs. You know what I mean? Now I look at it and I go, oh man, that's a little house to raise all these people in. Little stuff, just weird. There's also weird little things that are going on as far as society and, the different characters that roll in and out. But I was watching the Dooch Man, Danny Bonaduce, and
very funny in that show.
He is very funny in that show. And you also then realize, like when you're seeing David Cassidy, you're seeing a guy at the height of his powers. David Cassidy at the height of his powers was selling out stadiums around the world, literally. Selling out stadiums around the world, and was like, when he was at the height of his powers, he was like more popular. In 1973. David Cassidy was more popular than the Beatles, even though the Beatles broken up for a couple of years. But he was on that level,
craze, yeah.
And then you start taking a deep dive into it, and it's like he basically died of alcoholism and a kid a young girl at one of his big shows in England was crushed and killed with the stampede, and they say he never really got over it, and he drank, and then he died at age like 67 or something, and he dreamt of being kind of Jimi Hendrix, but he got caught into this pop star bubblegum Tiger Beat kind of caricature from the short-lived, and it also, it's a short window. It's 3 or 4 years of the guy's career. By the time David Cassidy's done with the Partridge Family, he's 22 and a half or 21. He's still got another 40 years to try to go around, and they want him to sing the shit from the show, and he wants to do Jimi Hendrix, and then it's all kind of tragic.
Yeah.
It is tragic. That's why, like, those fans from 12, you're not going to like the same stuff at 13. So from 12 to 15, you want to distance yourself. That's why you throw all the dolls out. You take all the Partridge Family posters down. It's not a normal life for an adult. For kids, it's a mess. But for somebody who from 18 to 19, and it's, how do you make that transition? I mean, it's tough. I mean, at least the Beatles had 4 of them. This was a very quick, kind of crazy, insane fame that I don't even know if exists anymore, because those TV shows, you had like All in the Family. You'd have 33 million people watch the show. And I remember I was just talking to Tony Orlando. We were on the same plane together recently. The great Tony Orlando Don, who's retiring soon. Great man. He said he had 30 million people the last season, and then he canceled the show because it was only 30 million people watching.
Oh, by the way, only 30 million when this country had 200 million, not 330 million. I mean, he had 26% of America was watching his show. Meanwhile, the number of people watching Lena Dunham's show, Girls, was 0.0000.7 of America. Yeah. Remind me tomorrow, I'm getting into Tony Orlando.
Okay.
Tony's great.
I have no fault with the man.
Okay.
I just know his 2 biggest songs were Tie a Yellow Ribbon Round the Old Oak Tree and Knock 3 Times on the Ceiling. If all his songs required someone else to do something. That's all I'm saying. And if I saw him on that airplane, I would bring it up. Like, Tony, a lot of asks in your pop songs.
Or are they instructions?
Is this a laundry list? Are these marching orders? Or can't we just listen? Or do I have to do something? I don't want a call to action. I want a song. Knock 3 times on the ceiling if you... And then there was Todd. But why doesn't he just give her his phone number and she can just call? She didn't have to ruin the plaster on the ceiling of her kitchen by banging on it.
Unless you had the Partridge Family's second story, I would not understand this.
Good callback. All right.
He's retiring, Tony. Let me just tell Tony Orlando's final show in Vegas is this March.
Yeah, well, no shit. That song was from 1971, and he was in his 40s. Like, there's no doubt. It's time for Tony to retire. But I'm a fan.
God bless him.
Still holds up.
Still holds up.
Love the guy.
Rob Schneider, Daddy-Daughter Trip, available Walmart, Amazon, and digital downloads as well.
Please help out a brother. I can use some help with this movie to get it's fun. It's hard to make independent movies. So if you guys would support me and go to Walmart and get the DVD and then look for the digital download, Daddy-Daughter Trip.
Family film.
And shoot him a tweet at Rob Schneider, Instagram. I am Rob Schneider as well. Website, robschneider.com. Always good to see you, my friend.
Always a pleasure.
Give my love to Adam. I think he's such a mensch.
Will do,
when you
buddy.
see him tonight. Always a pleasure.